Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome back for another video. So what we're going to be doing today is looking at my all-time favourite superhero, his movies, the one and only Spider-Man, the amazing Spider-Man, whatever you want to call him, the web slinger. So we're going to be ranking all the way back to the very first Tobey Maguire movie, straight through to the most recent Far From Home, and ranking them in order of best. Oh, in fact, I'll show you now. We're ranking it in order of all-time favourites, great, good with some flaws, okay, middle of the road, bad or trash. Right, so we might not use all categories, don't have to use all categories, but I'll put them into position of what my personal favourites are and why. But firstly, before I get into this, you need to understand that all Spider-Man movies are based off different versions of the comics, so that's why some are panned out different than others. I'll get into it, okay? So we're going to start off with Spider-Man, the original, with Tobey Maguire against the Green Goblin. So for me personally, that goes into all-time favourites. It might not have the best graphics, acting, etc., whatever you want to call it, right? But special effects, that's the word I'm looking for. But however, for a film that came out, 2001? It's unbelievably makes the best Spider-Man because, right, I'm not saying the rest aren't good. It's more down to the fact that he portrays the proper geek that Spider-Man is. He looks weak, right? He looks like he gets bullied, which he does in the first one, and for him to then gain superpowers just makes it a bit more fitting, right? Of course, I hope to see the Green Goblin in the next one with Tom Holland, because that would be great to see, especially up to date special effects and that. It would make it unbelievable. But because it was my childhood, no, it doesn't get into trash, it goes into all-time favourites. Spider-Man 2 was, again, unbelievable. The storyline between Mary Jane and Peter Parker, fantastic. The fact that, spoiler alert if anyone somehow hasn't seen it, that, of course, Mary Jane finds out at the very end that Spider-Man's actually Peter Parker. It then puts the final pieces of the puzzle together, why he's been acting so weird the last two movies. Against Dr. Octavius, where of course it could end New York with the whole experiment that he was doing. And it makes a great film. The only thing that lets that one down is the fact it's just Dr. Octavius. For me, he isn't a great villain on his own. So for me, it was a great film, but it was a good film, but had some flaws, down to the fact that it was just Dr. Octavius. This leads me on to the next one, Spider-Man 3. That goes straight into one of my all-time favourites. And I'll back that up now. Yes, people are going to mention Tobey Maguire's wee dancing scene. Yes, that was a bit shite. But anyway, Spider-Man 3, of course, dealing with the whole Venom side of things, getting the black suit. It overtakes his personality, but he then overrides it, of course, by not using the black suit. Because it makes him obviously bring his bad side out, where he doesn't consider anything when he performs his actions. Of course, you've got Venom, Sandman, and basically the Hobgoblin, which is played by his best friend Harry Osborn. So you have three enemies against Spider-Man at one point in this movie, and for me it's a dream, right? Because I am hoping for the day that Sinister Six comes out eventually. That would be unbelievable. I love seeing so much enemies against the one hero to then see him still win. Makes it much more entertaining because you know how difficult it looks for the hero. The Amazing Spider-Man, for me, I would say okay, middle of the road, because Andrew Garfield for me was okay at Spider-Man, but he's not geekish enough for me to be Spider-Man. You need to fit the bill. It's like Batman has to be this posh, kind of high-end, wealthy kind of man, right? And if you put somebody in that doesn't suit that kind of look and doesn't play it well, then it won't work. So, but apart from that, the Lizard and that was done well, but it wasn't as good as the other Spider-Man movies. The Amazing Spider-Man 2, however, I thought was great. The way Electro could basically shut down all of New York, and the ending for me, I'm not going to lie, it had me in tears, right? Of course, when Gwen dies, which backs up my whole point about the different comic book times and stuff. How Gwen's now his girlfriend in this one, but it was Mary Jane. Anyway, like I said, it was entertaining, great film, full of electrifying entertainment. Horrible part. This leads me on to my next one. Spider-Man Homecoming. So, Spider-Man Homecoming for me, the whole upbringing of Peter Parker becoming Spider-Man under Tony Stark. Basically, Tony Stark was like a dad to him, easing them in. The special effects in this make it great for me, right? The way Spider-Man's such a child in it makes it even more special because it makes him turn into a man, basically. The part in the movie that really got me was when the bricks fall on, right? The roof collapses on him and he doesn't know what to do. But he fights and that's the moment that he realises he's Spider-Man. He's not just Peter Parker. For me, that gets into the great zone because Tom Holland does portray it really well. But like I said, they all do in their own way because it's for different kind of sides of the story. Far From Home for me, because of the effects in it and stuff, with Mysterio was played absolutely incredible. So that goes straight up to there for me. All-time favourites, absolutely phenomenal. So I'm not going to rank the Venom movie, etc., because it's not necessarily a Spider-Man specific film yet, of course, because the next Venom movie could lead into the next Spider-Man. That Spider-Man 3 is a duplicate, of course, for whatever reason. So this leaves me with my last one, which is Into the Spider-Verse, right? What an absolute film, right? See, for an animation, the graphics, the storyline, incredible. I'm not going to lie, I did not know that there was a storyline between having a new Spider-Man other than Peter Parker, but the guy done I'm going to say the guy done great. It's an animation, but it was portrayed brilliant. The storyline, how it works, it's a very modernised Spider-Man. For me, it goes into great. Not an all-time favourite, of course. Spider-Man 1 and 3 originally are probably my all-time favourites, and that edges into it. The Far From Home, the special effects, and the ending, of course, with the fact that Spider-Man's identity is unveiled, and the fact that they added the real Jameson into it for the Daily Bugle, for the original Spider-Man. That was a great way to finish it off. But guys, that's my all-time favourite Spider-Man films, right, in order. So my all-time favourite overall, like I said, would be Spider-Man 1 because that was my basically childhood. But guys, put in the comments what your opinions are of what's the best Spider-Man movie and why. But they've all got their different flaws, like I said. One of the other reasons, just to add in why I prefer the original Spider-Man, is because if he shoots webs out his wrist naturally. He doesn't have to build a web slinger or a web shooter. I understand that he has to do it in other films because of the comics, etc. But the way it's portrayed in the first one makes him basically a real straight out Spider-Man. And it's overcoming his personality, fitting into the boots, he taking on the responsibility, because with great power comes great responsibility.